request is you comply. Compliance will be rewarded.
So, Ryan, imagine, put yourself in 1997, okay? You are so excited to see the new Quentin Tarantino movie. Pulp Fiction was like your favorite movie of all time. And then you go and you see this.
Would you like some coffee?
If you're having some.
I am. Come on in. Why don't you make yourself at home? Oh, the milk went bad while I was in jail.
Black's fine.
Just an exploration on old people being sad.
Is that what you think it is? I didn't interpret it that way. That's an old people being sad. I guess it was a lot of old people. I didn't interpret Jackie Brown as old. She didn't look that old to me. She looked like, I don't know, like 38.
Okay, so let's set this up. Hello, this is our series, Eyes Pried Shut. This is a series.
I thought it was Eyes Pried Open.
Eyes Pried Open. That's better.
We're off to a great fucking start. I didn't know he was gonna bring a full fucking printout. I thought these were just gonna be like hand jotted notes. This motherfucker shows up. Or I pull up to pick him up today, and he's got a whole ass binder in his hand. I'm like, all right, I'm taking this pretty damn seriously,
We gotta keep this organized. I mean, you're just gonna be spitting off like just random thoughts you had because we just saw the movie. You know?
Yes.
So I need the one to keep things organized. You know, so I know my job.
Whoa. I respect it.
So yeah, this is a new series we're doing called Eyes Pried Open, where I torture my friends by showing them old movies they wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Clockwork Orange style.
And so for this movie, we're watching the classic question mark movie called Jackie Brown, directed by foot fetishist Quentin Tarantino.
That's a way to put it.
Okay.
There's a lot of feet shots in this. Like, right off the bat, too.
Really, yeah, I think less than his other. I think it's just with that one girl, and it's at the very beginning of the movie.
I would argue that the way that it's shot, like right up in the fucking crevice under the toes,
It's enough.
It's like it really they really want to shove your face in the feet this time.
That's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah. God damn it, Tarantino.
You have to imagine in 1997, Quentin Tarantino has just made his biggest movie of all time, which is like this ultimate crime movie. It's so energetic, it's so crazy, there's so many wild characters, so many twists and turns. And then you're going in to see this movie, and it's just, a lot of people wanted Pulp Fiction 2. The trailers, I just showed them the trailer to the movie. It basically advertises Pulp Fiction 2.
It's false advertisement.
Miramax Films is proud to present one of the most celebrated motion pictures of the year.
For centuries, Americans have gathered together to celebrate the holidays, reaffirm family ties.
It's not, well, the trailer for Pulp Fiction doesn't even advertise Pulp Fiction. Like, you think it's going to be...
Come on, let's get in character.
And that's not what Tarantino's style is at all.
Oh yeah, something I realized as I was watching this one is, I mean, most people call this one the slow Tarantino film, but all of his movies, even like Kill Bill, which is a fast-paced samurai action movie, there's a lot of drawn-out sequences.
Very slow drip.
I mean, that one was so long they had to split it into 2 parts. Django Unchained is pretty well paced.
I rewatched that one. That is one of my favorites, though. I guess that brings us to right now. Is the latest movie that I've seen in Tarantino's catalog is Jackie Brown.
Yes.
And I think it has a great beginning. I think it has great ending, and the middle was just fucking dragging for me. You know, like it really wanted to take its time. It really loved just having people talking in a room, and just really just like the dialogue was very, very not on the nose in the sense of like. It was very on the nose in the sense of like it really like they told you what was going to happen next. And I don't know, like sometimes like I think that it's more effective to just show us what happens next, you know? Like, all right, here's what's going to happen. Cut, and then show us like what happens, you know? Or I guess I don't know. I guess
I mean, sometimes they're playing with your expectations a bit, and then they're messing with them.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, is that like they're telling you what's supposed to happen. I'm talking about this like fucking like if I shot Tarantino's film, you know, if I shot it, fucking instead of just having them talk in a room, you know, like I don't know, like I'd have them cut to something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be like the stereotypical like, all right, and then and then we cut to like the like ideal version of this happening, you know, with that all being played out. That's like a cliche of itself.
But it would keep the engagement up.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean that's not how I would do it. I think there's an in between there where I think you can stay in the same space, but like just show us something else. Like this is another cliche, but I'm using this as like an example, right? Like you have people like playing chess in a scene, right? While they're talking about like, you know, two people like confronting each other about like some kind of conflict that they're having, and the chessboard is supposed to like imitate the conflict that they're having, right? That's been fucking done to death, you know? Like, every time I see one of those scenes, I hope somebody comes in and just fucking wipes the chessboard off the desk or the table. But something like that, you know? Like, show us something with the hands, something happening on the table, you know, something happening in the background.
Well, let's get into the movie.
Yeah,
let's get into. I want to first talk about some of the kind of behind the scenes, the making of the movie. So this is based on a book by Elmore Leonard, a famous crime novelist, who Tarantino, his entire career, even after this movie, has been heavily inspired by. What's significant about this, to me at least, is that this is the only time that Tarantino has ever adapted work. Every other thing he's done is a completely original idea from him. Well, original in the sense that it's like not based on anything, but of course he always takes a lot of inspiration from a lot of sources. But this movie is an adaptation of that book.
Yeah, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is based on like the story of the Manson family.
Yeah. Now, so the story is called Rum Punch. What I find really interesting here is I haven't read the book. I did read some plot synopsises to kind of see like how close it is. Like the movie is pretty close to what happens in the book, but there is one very big change. The main character,
Jackie Brown,
is not called Jackie Brown. Her name is Jackie Burke in the book, and she is a white woman. Which I think gets us to Pam Grier. Pam Grier is the star of this movie, very famous from the 70s. She was a B-movie actress in the Blaxploitation, which was the kind of like a series of like B-movies starring black people as like action heroes, very over the top. And she starred in those movies. And the most famous one is a film called Foxy Brown. And so then that goes along with the change of turning Jackie Burke into Jackie Brown, you know. So I wanted to ask you, what did you think of her in this movie?
she's fucking great.
She's really fucking good, isn't she?
She was very well characterized from the beginning, you know? Like, I mean, the first time we see her, she's just like walking through an airport, so we know what she is. We know that she's a stewardess. But then when we get to the first scene where we get to see a little bit of her personality, we learn that she isn't the type of person to take shit from nobody.
That's why you came here to kill me.
I ain't come over here to kill you.
Hey, it's okay. Now, I forgive you.
Yes, but you know what's interesting is that you see this like tough woman dynamic before done, where it's like generic, like ooh, tough lady, but she's also allowed to be very vulnerable. She's also allowed to be very like feminine. Like there's a scene where she's like excited about like this suit that she's gonna wear and stuff, and I think it's like it feels like such a real character, and like it's so much of it is just her, and like we feel like we're like living like in her, like she's a person. She's not a character being played by an actress. That's a living, breathing person that's like on our screen.
But yeah, I mean, that is the job of the actor, you know, and to her credit, fucking well done.
she fucking pulled it off, man.
Yeah, she's dude, like the sense of confidence that she has. Well, I think you said it perfectly. Like she's able to also have these moments of like vulnerability where like we're worried about like what's gonna happen next, you know. Like she's not that stereotypical like strong woman, you know. She has like the full range of emotions, and that, to me at least, like shows strength to be able to be comfortable with your emotions in that way.
Yeah. But, you know, so going through the movie for a second, what's interesting about how the movie is structured is we see this fantastically made opening sequence of her like running to her job. And then we just don't spend time with her for like 10 minutes. And we have like a little mini movie. It's like, it reminds me of The Godfather, where in The Godfather, have you seen that movie?
Yes.
The Godfather.
Oh no, actually I haven't. I don't know why I said that.
That's another Eyes Pried Open right there.
Yeah.
The Godfather, without saying spoilers, it starts with a mini movie before it gets like the main plot. And I think it's so great in like establishing the world and just kind of letting you see things from a different perspective and such. Right. But let's talk about these characters that we meet. Kind of the first person we really meet is Mr. Samuel L. Jackson. So what did you think of him in the movie?
I always think it's interesting when he plays the villain. You know, the last time I saw him as the villain was, I mean, he wasn't the villain, but he was an antagonistic force in Django Unchained, you know, playing the slave that is very critical of other black people, which was something that...
It's a weird character.
Yeah, it was very jarring to me. I mean, like, that's something, like, as a white guy, that I guess that's something that doesn't even cross my mind as that's a thing that would happen, you know?
He's so good in that movie.
Yeah, he's fucking great.
What I think as well is that going back to, like, the time it was made, like 1997, you have to think that Pulp Fiction was, like, the last movie in people's memory that they see with this guy. And, like, you know, that's basically what takes off Samuel Jackson's career. And he's so charismatic. He's so charming in that movie. He's so likable. And then you see him in this movie, and he is such a bastard.
But he still carries the same charisma.
Yeah, but it's flipped on your head. It's like, it like fucks with you.
Yeah.
It's like suddenly it's like, oh, that charisma isn't being used for a likable character. It's using for like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like him being all quippy and stuff.
Yeah, and they did a great job with the wardrobe and the makeup. Like, dude, giving him a fucking ponytail and a little... I don't even know. I just bumped the mic.
They make him like fucking ugly, you know?
Yeah, they make him a little fucking ugly, and he's wearing a beret all the time.
He looks gross. He looks like he smells bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has like a little bit of like a tummy in the movie. Like it's like a great transformation of appearance.
And they did the same thing with Robert De Niro, where they gave him like this horrible mustache, this fucking like greasy hair. He just got out of jail, you know, but when we first see him, he's wearing like bum clothes, like straight out of prison. Such a strange, off-putting character he is at first. I love that the first time that we meet them both, you know, Samuel L. Jackson is doing his overly charismatic thing where he's just yapping away.
They work off each other very well in this movie.
And Robert De Niro just doesn't say a fucking word for like 10 minutes straight, like, or at least it feels like 10 minutes.
There's a lot of scenes where two-time Academy Award winner Robert De Niro is just in the background of scenes, not doing anything.
For 10,000. You all right out there? Yeah.
But he's still great. He's still nailing it.
Oh my god! You know, sometimes it's like funny. It's like sometimes they get a little lucky where it's like he doesn't even need to act. It's like you need someone who's withered and tired, and it's like you can just see on his face like all of his wrinkles and stuff. It plays so well. Here's what I'm gonna say about De Niro. I don't know, it's like such a lovely, subtle performance, and I think that's what De Niro is really good at. Is I think he's the best when he's subtle. I don't think he's like better when he's like loud and over the top when he's just like showing like minimal emotion. You see that in Taxi Driver. You see that. I can't think of another example, but you see that in Taxi Driver quite a lot. I have a hot take about this movie. I think
I'm excited to hear this.
genuinely, I think this is De Niro's best performance of his career. Period. Like I don't think there's a better one. When I see him in this movie, it's just like I feel him. Basically, he's a guy who's, like you said, he's just come back from prison and he's working this job. And I think Tarantino put this in like best words, but he's a guy who he doesn't realize what jail has taken out of him.
Okay, you do realize that in saying that, you're implying that Robert De Niro works better as a side character.
I think there's no such thing as small parts.
Oh, okay.
I think, what was it? He's a withered, broken man who doesn't realize what jail did to him. He doesn't realize that he's not, like, you know, like he's not who he used to be.
He looks like he's got his balls cut off, you know?
Like every scene, he's just like sad. This is a big thing I want to stress. This movie is about sad old people being sad and old. Just the entire movie is just about people being like the great scene is between that exemplifies this is between what's her name, Jackie Brown and Max Cherry, where they're talking about is like do you get tired about being old? He's like, I don't care, and she's like, my ass is getting big and stuff, and it's just like a wonderful encapsulation of like people being miserable. I know this sounds weird, but sometimes it's great to watch a movie of people being miserable.
Yeah,
you know?
well,
It's very cathartic.
Well, that's a good segue because we're talking about the characters. Robert Forster as Max Cherry is the complete foil to that idea where he, you know, the whole crutch to that conversation is that he doesn't mind being old. You know, they have the whole conversation about, you know, Jackie brings up like, oh, like, aren't you like a little conscious about your hair falling out? And he's like, yeah, well, I just went and I got the implants and I'm fucking good. You know, it's not something that keeps him up at night. It's not something that
What I've heard once, like an actor say this, where it's like one of the hardest things an actor can do is play content, to be content with yourself, because actors are always trying to look for things as like, am I really angry? Am I really sad? Am I really happy? I need something that I need to like be. I need to be showing off some kind of emotion. And to be content is like the opposite of that, where you just need to show that you don't have any strong feelings towards anything. And fuck, if Robert Forster doesn't fucking nail that.
he does it great here. He does it great in Breaking Bad and El Camino. He fucking nails it, dude. Just playing that calm and collected character where everything else just feels very frantic and up in the air. Like he feels like the only thing that's like has a center of gravity.
I definitely feel like he definitely got the Breaking Bad job because of this movie.
Oh, 100%. You know, you see the DNA, right?
Yeah.
What other characters were there? There was the stoner surf girl.
Well, of course, the thing you were surprised by was Michael Keaton.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Why the fuck did Tarantino not work with him more? I love Michael Keaton.
I love Michael Keaton. Just has this weird casual energy. Well, the thing with him is that we don't really know what's going on in his head. You know, he's just kind of.
So it was like, He's got the Will Poulter eyebrow thing, or I guess he's older than Will Poulter, but same style of eyebrow.
Did you know that this movie is part of a little shared universe, like a little Marvel-style shared universe?
Get the fuck out of here.
A movie called Out of Sight. You have to imagine this movie came out in 1997. A movie called Out of Sight came out in 98. It's also based on an Eleanor Leonard book, and Eleanor Leonard loved having characters come in and out of his book, like having shared characters from each one of his books, you know, very similar to like a Stephen King-like person, you know. And in Out of Sight, they decided to have a cameo by Michael Keaton. He's in one scene of that movie, and he's playing the exact same character in Jackie Brown.
That's fucking nuts. That's I wouldn't put that on the same level as like the MCU, but that's a fun little crossover.
Yeah, and then what is it? There's a movie called Life of Crime, which came out before this. which is based on a book that came out before Rum Punch, which is the basis for Jackie Brown. And that movie came out in like 2008, and it has a younger Louis and Ordell, a younger versions of them from this movie. So that movie is a prequel to Jackie Brown, even though Jackie Brown is based on a book that came out after Life of Crime. But from what I've heard, Life of Crime is apparently not a very good movie, so I wouldn't really suggest watching.
That sucks.
It's not really worth it. Out of Sight is pretty good though.
There's and then the last character, the main character, lasted like the main cast is really that surfer stoner girl that pisses off Robert De Niro.
She's just sitting on a couch the majority of the movie, and then she just gets shot.
Yeah, I mean, I love her implementation though. Like she is like just like this pain in the ass, you know, just like another thing to fucking drive Samuel L. Jackson nuts. Like the whole beginning sequence where like she won't pick up the phone. Like the way they introduce the character is perfect. Where she's Samuel L. Jackson telling her to get off the couch and pick up the phone, and she doesn't want to do it. And finally she gets up. She goes, "Hello, it's for you." She puts it down like fucking. That's a great little sequence. That's a great.
She's really good. That whole opening part where there's just that runner in like the background of the scene where Samuel Jackson's like, "Can you get the phone? Yeah. Can you get the phone?"
Tarantino's got a twisted sense of humor, you know, like the thing at the end where she gets fucking shot. The whole time I'm thinking, De Niro's gonna hit her. De Niro's gonna punch her in the face. De Niro's gonna fucking snap, you know, which also serves as an arc for this character who, as we said previously, felt like he had his balls chopped off, you know. Not that this is a good or a bad. It is a bad way. I'm gonna say, yeah, it is a bad way to go about feeling like you do have your manhood back. But instead of fucking hitting the girl,
I mean, don't say one fucking word, okay?
Okay, Lewis.
fucking shoots her twice, you know, like, and they even say that in the car of like, you could have like Samuel L. Jackson, yeah, you could have hit her.
But again, it's just going to that thing where, I mean, that whole scene, it's like part of it is like she's annoying him, but also it's like part of it is just the fact that he's old and he's losing it. He's losing his touch. He doesn't remember how they got into the mall. He doesn't remember where his car is. It's not like he, and then like that's him just breaking, like snapping, you know, just getting so freaking tired of like he can't even acknowledge it.
But it totally subverts your expectations because I think what was the last point in the movie that someone got killed? It was the beginning, right? It was the beginning with the kid with the shotgun in the trunk. Yeah.
That's a great little oneer just to have like Chris Tucker in there for 5 minutes. Yeah. And then Louis fucking dies. And it's like, it's kind of funny because these are despicable characters, but you do feel Samuel L. Jackson's like moment where he's just like, I didn't want to do this to you. I didn't want to fucking hurt you, but you left me no choice here.
Yeah. It's a very interesting movie.
Something I want to say is I think Tarantino's direction in this movie is very strong. There's a lot of scenes where we just focus on characters just thinking about their next choice. You know, one is right there where Samuel Jackson, we see his mind and he's figuring out that Jackie Brown is the one who conned him. And that two, Louis is the one who's about to die. Like he's about to kill Louis, and so
you see that one coming from a mile away, though.
No, of course you see it, but like
the moment they pull over, it's like, all right, Louis is fucking dead.
I love how they shoot it. They shoot it from the back. Tarantino plays with, you know, what I would call like in camera like subjective and objective camera point of views, where.
But yeah, break that down for me.
A good example is when he's talking to Chris Tucker in their opening scene. And it's all from one angle. And it's like from a medium of both of them. Because I feel like there's a lot of long takes in the movie. But I feel like a take like that where it's like the camera is just static and it's just watching those two characters. If you had a shot reverse shot type setup where you would cut between both of them as they're having their dialogue, the editing could create some subjectivity towards telling you that Ordell is like fucking planning to fucking kill this guy. But if since you have it objective, you don't really get a sense of what either of them is thinking in that moment. And same thing where he kills Luis, like Louis or Luis, I keep fucking up, but it's from the back. We don't get to see their faces, and we just it's like long. It's holding on them. We only occasionally cut to like close-ups of either of them, and it's like we don't really get a sense of like what they're thinking in a singular moment. All we can do is guess, and then every time we see like a close-up of like a zoom in on a character's face, we can only guess what they're thinking about or imply what they're thinking
I think
about.
we kind of get what they're thinking through the dialogue, you know, through what they're saying, what they're not saying. You know, we get that Samuel L. Jackson is fucking livid, and he blames Robert De Niro. You know,
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like the like
he's putting together the pieces where he's like, "Oh, so you're telling me that you lost this money and then you killed the only other witness?"
Yeah.
Like that is like, oh, like duh, you know. And he also says like, "Look at me when I'm talking to you," you know, and like Robert De Niro, like we see that from the back is that like he's not engaging in eye contact at all, you know, and the fucking last thing that he says is something along the lines of like, "You better chill out with me," you know, as if like he has like any control in this situation whatsoever, and then bam, you know. But yeah, no, I think I would have to disagree with you on that. Where I don't know, some of the scene. I wish that those long takes where we just kind of like sit on the blocking of the scene where each character is placed. I wish it was used more effectively, because I think that there are so many scenes like that where it kind of loses its meaning. You know, it kind of loses its intensity, like its feeling of heaviness and dread by the end.
I think what's interesting is the Max and the Jackie romance. I think it's like nice and subtle and understated, you know. From their very first scene, it's kind of funny. It's like an old school romantic movie where it's like there's this understated like sense of just like he looks at her and it's like love at first sight type thing. And it's very kind of almost silly. It's like an old man, but it's like you buy it because of their performances, and they have like an instant chemistry with each other. It works very well.
And even like through the subtle comments where like you can feel that Cherry gets like a little jealous of Samuel L. Jackson, like in the shopping mall where he's like, "Oh, you think he's got a thing for you?" You know, like things like that. Like just checking in. Like he's a slick motherfucker, that Robert Forster.
Oh yeah.
I just choked on my own saliva. Ew. Fuck, that ever happened to you?
Yes.
Fuck.
So let me ask you this. So what do you think? We're gonna
Dying.
let's step out of the frames of the movie for a second. Let's talk about something a bit broader.
Oh boy.
Do you think? What do you think about Tarantino as a person?
What do I think about Tarantino as a person?
Yeah, when you see him in interviews, like he's a very intense guy.
I think he's pretentious as fuck.
He is super pretentious.
I mean, not that it's a good or a bad thing, but
He's very. He loves his work. You know.
yeah.
He loves what he does. God bless him. I mean, you know what's kind of funny is that he loves his work so much. It like kind of. You can see it in the filmmaking. Like he loves doing these long takes. He loves playing with the colors. He loves playing all the old music and stuff. You know, he loves his dialogue. He loves his dialogue.
This is one small aspect, but I see him as someone who fuels himself off of negative energy.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because it's so much fun, Jan. Get it?
Like when you see these interviews where they bring in like someone, like, you know, he's on the news and they bring in someone to like talk about like, oh, the violence in your movies. He loves it, dude. He fucking loves it.
No, it's my job to try and ask you to.
And I'm shutting your butt down.
You know, I feel like he goes out of his way just to like piss those people off with something like Kill Bill. You know, like I feel like that was like a love letter to those people.
I want to talk about the kind of climax of the movie, which is like this 3 perspective ending where we get to see like this kind of money stealing heist. I don't know what you would call it, but from 3 different perspectives.
It's a heist. It is a heist.
Yeah,
It's a
heist
sequence.
This is a sequence where I think the long takes really are done the best because it's like it's building suspense. Specifically, the first part where we see Jackie Brown kind of walk through, like kind of like running out of the mall and like just like looking in panic everywhere, and the camera's spinning around her. And then we get to see kind of like a thing where we see like Luis and the Bridget Fonda's character. We see their perspective on it, and then we see Max's perspective on it, and we see it's a con on a con on a con.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, it's because you have these long takes throughout the rest of the movie.
It takes away from the effect.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as special when we get to the climax. Like. Dude, there were some points straight up where I was like, "Yo, come on," Like I think this movie could have been, I don't know, like 2 hours long. I think he could have shaved half an hour off this easily.
That's not Tarantino. I don't like. I never thought of him as like a guy who makes like long movies, but yeah, I was just thinking about Pulp Fiction's 3 hours. Fucking, Kill Bill was so long they had to split into 2 movies.
You know what's funny is before we put on this movie, I told you, okay, I know 2 things. I know the thing that people were expecting Pulp Fiction 2, and I know that the runtime is 2 hours and 30 minutes. And your reaction to that was, well, for me, it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours. For me, it felt like 2.5 hours. I was definitely like...
Well, I'll tell you this. My experience with this movie is that the first time I saw it, I didn't finish it because I was getting a little bored by it. But
wow,
Tarantino describes this movie as a hangout film, and I think once you get that perspective, the way you're supposed to enjoy this movie becomes much more clear. Where it becomes less about like. I think a lot of modern audiences are too plot focused, where they're just like they need every scene to have like beat, kind of connecting. But this movie is just meant for like the kind of thing where you just kind of chill out to,
Well, then why the fuck did he put it in a movie theater, Sebastian?
No, but I mean, seriously though, it's like a type of thing where it's like you just kind of like sit down, you can just relax, sit back, just have a drink.
No, okay, here, you know what? That sounds like a shitty excuse for poor pacing. Why the fuck did you put this in movie theaters if you wanted to make a hangout film? Like why didn't you just send this straight to Blockbuster?
This is funny. That's a good. That's an interesting argument. I can't argue it.
So you think that we would have enjoyed the film more if we were talking throughout it more?
No, it's not that kind of thing. It's more like it's not about like physical action. It's about headspace. It's just about like chilling out. Just chilling.
Okay, when you say a hangout film, I'm envisioning that this is the film that's on the TV that you're walking up and down, getting some tapas, eating some appetizers.
I mean, this wouldn't be a bad movie.
Sitting back down. No, that's what I think he means by saying it's a hangout film. It's not just about headspace. Like, this isn't like...
And it's funny, it has that kind of slow pace, but it's also a crime movie, so the plot does get a little convoluted at points.
What do you mean a crime movie? Oh, crime. I think you said cry. Like...
Crime. Yeah, crime.
Yeah.
I'm just like, so there's like points where it gets a little convoluted. So not only are you like watching these long drawn out sequences, but you're also like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, I got what was going on once we actually got to the part that like things were happening,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, because I've seen this like 1,000 times, but yeah, this is an interesting one in Tarantino's filmography. Can I give my kind of crime theory about Tarantino?
Please.
I think this movie is kind of meant to be like a finale to his career, at least like this chapter of his career up to this point. I think Tarantino's thing was he loved Eleanor Leonard novels, and the crime novels in general. He took big inspiration from those, but what I think is interesting about those crime novels is they use the element of crime, of like gangsters and shooting and heists and whatever, they use it to tell stories with allegories. They use it to tell stories with like morality tales that have like, you know, not a good endings to them, you know, because they end shitty and stuff. But that's not what Tarantino was drawn to. He wasn't drawn to like the themes and the allegories. This is just me speculating here. He was drawn to the iconography, you know, the visuals of it. He was drawn to like the guns and the guys in suits and the crime, you know. So he kind of took like the visuals and he wanted the aesthetic. And I think when you look at his films leading up to this point, they're very much about using that aesthetic in different ways. I think Reservoir Dogs is about using that aesthetic on a cheap, low-budget movie. True Romance is about making a fanfic crime movie where he basically has a self-insert character go on a crime journey for him. Pulp Fiction is about making the ultimate crime movie, the ultimate crime story. Dusk Till Dawn is kind of what happens after you've made the ultimate crime movie, which is Pulp Fiction, where it's like you experiment. And the experiment is like, let's put the crime genre in a different genre. In that case, it's vampire films. And then this movie, I think, is the epilogue. And I think that's why it really makes sense that he chose it. He chose to get like, have it be like older people, older like characters, about people being kind of sad and miserable and stuff. And I think what's actually interesting is not only is it like the ending is a good ending to like this film, but I think it's a good ending to this chapter because if you look back to something like Reservoir Dogs, it's like what you remember from that movie is like the fun and like the character beats and like the jokes. But if you watch the ending of that movie, it's a downer. You know, it ends on a down note. They all fucking die.
Well, that's what's crazy about this movie is it doesn't.
That's exactly my point.
That way.
And like I think like he wanted like for his final crime film to give like these crime characters. He's like, why does it? I think this is him. It was like the ending is him saying, why do these characters need to have to like die in some bloody shootout or have to like get screwed over or end up in jail or something? Why can't it end with like the main character just having a happy ending? And this character in this movie ends with a beautiful, happy ending. And I think it's really nice that you see these characters just kind of get away with it, you know?
It was a little unsatisfying for me in that sense.
I just go on this big fucking tangent just for you to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said about like speculating about like his filmography and it being like this like this epilogue and everything. But the fact that like she has no repercussions for, I mean, she fucked over both the crime lord and the police.
But that's what's great about it is that from the very beginning we see her character and we find out like the cops give exposition about it. She has been fucked over basically her entire fucking life. You know, she like it was continuously being screwed over and she was about to get screwed over again. And so she finally was able to take charge of her own life.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but she got screwed over for getting involved with crime, right?
Yes.
So she chose to put herself in that position. And she chose so
okay, Dad.
Your actions have repercussions, you know?
Still though, she was like in a lose-lose situation where she's like either she goes to jail or she gets killed by Ordell, and she finds a way to screw them both over. I think that's beautiful. I think something that like what's fun in a movie, and I think people underestimate this. It's fun having a really smart character who's like one step ahead of you, like the audience. I mean, because it's like at the end of the movie we find out that she was able to successfully beat them both like so badly. Like,
you know what would have been funny? If Max Cherry turned her in. If that's how it ended.
That would have been fucking awful.
No, dude, okay. So you're talking about how you have this one character that's always like one step ahead of like you, the audience, right? And so like the whole time, like, not that it's like frustrating, but it, you know, it works because, you know, it brings you things that are unexpected, right? Mm-hmm. But to me, Max Cherry was the one that was like the most calm and collected and centered, you know. And I don't know, it was a little, I guess I want to say forced, that he was like all down and jiggy with all the crime stuff? You know,
Because
like,
he liked her. From the very beginning, we see that
is that what it is? Because he had a fucking heart on?
Yeah, I mean, from the very opening scene, like the scene where they meet, he falls in love at first sight. What's funny about that scene is that, by the way, he can't even see her face. He's just falling in love with like the shape of her body, because the shot is just like a silhouette of her, and so it's like, well, you can't even see what she looks like.
That is pretty fucked up. I mean, that's more to my point of like, wow, like that's.
For sure. I love the parallels of the scene, the first scene with her and Michael Keaton, where she is just so screwed over, like so bad. Like it's like she's like for any other person, just feels like, oh, well, I'm fucking done, because they find the bag of the money and then he finds the bag of the cocaine, and there's such a brilliant cut, you know, because like we said, he loves the drawn out sequences, but then it's like such a fast cut where it's like we see he has the cocaine, shows her, and then boom, she's in jail. It's just like that, and it's so real.
That was my exact reaction. I look over you, I'm like, just like that, and you're like, just like that.
That's it. And then I love like the scene that kind of parallels at the very end where he's in the interrogation with her room again, and she's able to answer all of his questions, and she's just so confident. Her story just checks out so well that he's the one who's in the position now where he's just like, fuck, I don't have any, like I can't. I don't have anything on you anymore. You know, you're just basically.
You know what? I guess my problem. I enjoyed this film. You know, but I guess my problem is like nobody loves a know-it-all, and that is 100% what Jackie Brown is. Like she's a fucking know-it-all. She knows how to wiggle herself out of every situation. You know, and that's definitely the character that Tarantino set out to create. The only time we see her struggle is at the very beginning, and then from there on out, she is just on a fucking roll, man, you know? And I like from that point on, I guess the stakes kind of fall for me, because I know that she's going to get out of every situation. I know that she's always one step ahead.
There's a great scene at the beginning of the movie, because we already established that Ardell is willing to kill anyone who might get in the way of his goodbye plan, you know, like of him going to Mexico. Yeah. And so he kills Chris Tucker immediately, which means immediately sets the stakes. It's just like, hey, if he thinks you're going to talk, he'll shoot you dead.
Yeah. But then he doesn't.
But then, what happens is then he goes to Jackie Brown's house, and we're like, oh shit, she's fucking dead.
That was one of the things that I wrote down in that sequence, where you have this exchange of who is dominant in the situation based on who walks over to the lamppost and flicks the light. You know, that is the one thing that I will remember from this movie. It was that sequence right there. I thought that was so well done.
Mm-hmm. And then just that like it's like again, it's like the static shot, but it works. Like we just feel the danger on her, and we just hear a little click, and he's like, "Is that what I think it is?" And he's like, "It's a gun on my dick," and it's like boom. She has power of the situation, and it's very. Like it's like this huge like breath of relief, like, whew, this isn't going in that direction, you know, yeah.
I think it's slow. I think the character of Jackie Brown is a fucking know-it-all.
I think it's a masterpiece. I think all of the characters are so good. That's one of the reasons I was excited to show you this movie. I think this is a great acting movie. You know, so many great actors giving great acting performances in it. You know, different types of performances and like. Yeah, I mean, it's the type of acting I love, where it's just like kind of people being like slow and like, if you watch an acting compilation of like best acting ever, you know, it's people screaming and being like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But in this movie, it's just like
very subtle.
The quiet, subtle emotions, and I love seeing them. This movie has a lot of good, quiet, subtle.
No, I agree with that, but you know, and the other thing that was amazing about this movie was the lighting. That was something that I was continuously pointing out to you. Also the set design, you know.
I mean,
but
a lot of it is like it's shot in like real locations, so it's like a lot of it's like, well, I guess they just got lucky, but it still looks amazing.
Well, they had to choose those locations, you know, so you got to give them credit. But everything has to mesh together.
By the way, the the airport that she is in the beginning of the movie, where she's like running to the desk, that's the same airport in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Sharon Stone and her boyfriend are leaving at the like tail end of the movie, like towards the end of the movie. Yeah.
What I was saying before was like, yeah, the acting is great, the lighting and the set design is great, but I feel like the way that it all comes together just makes it just like this slow drip feed of a movie that, I mean, people were critical back in the day, so I can't even make the argument of like, oh, like I guess the attention span nowadays, you know.
Because I mean, people were expecting Pulp Fiction.
Well, to be fair, the fucking trailer that you showed me is what it advertises Pulp Fiction too. I'm sorry, it advertises the trailer of Pulp Fiction too, because even the trailer of Pulp Fiction is not what Pulp Fiction was, you know?
What's funny is he didn't realize that the movie was like released on Christmas, and so it starts to have a Christmas music, and you released it off.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
He's actually had 3 movies released on Christmas. He's had this movie, Django Unchained, and Hateful Eight.
You know, the whole time I was watching the movie, the one thing that kept bouncing around in my head is like, what is this movie about? You know, like what is... These aren't the same question, but like another thing is like what
People being sad and miserable and old.
What is the theme? You know, I didn't piece that together until you said that, and I was like, oh, you're right, because there's a lot of dialogue centering around that. But the thing that I had in my head is the crazy things that people do for money. Like that was what was in my head, because you have...
Okay, to be like now like a non-joking answer, I really think it's more about people trying to get out of desperately trying to get out of bad situations. I think it's like more to me. It's like people like, you know, Jackie Brown's in a hole and there's like seemingly no way to get out, and it's just like, it's like asking like, is there a solution here, or like, do you just give up? And like, I think the answer is like no. Like, it's very uplifting, I think, in that sense. It's like you don't just like give up. It's like you can figure it out. Even the worst situations you can figure out, you know?
If she wanted to figure that out, you know, she could have... I don't know, she got permission to leave the country, right? Like, that was one of the first things she did so she could continue to the work. She could have avoided... I mean, like, okay, if you wanted to have, like, the, like, ethical, moral base of it, right? Like, turn yourself in, that wasn't gonna fucking happen. That's boring.
I mean, if she had just, like, got Ordell arrested and then just, like, got away, like, without getting jail time, she still would have been, like, penniless. I mean, she was in a shitty position in the start of the movie. She was making $16,000 a year, you know?
Right, which is why she wants the money so badly, right? But she could have... Dude, I think she could have fucking taken the money and ran in Mexico. You know, that was the thing in the back of my mind that was like, why didn't you just fucking do that? Just not show up for work the next month.
Now she has the money and she's not wanted by anyone. Because even if she's in Mexico, she's still going to be wanted, and then people could catch her, or like she could be like extradited or stuff. Now she's like free. She's good. She's like,
okay, fair. I guess I'm thinking of like the easier option. You know, I mean, like, even if you're wanted, how the fuck are they gonna find you? How the fuck are you? You don't even got to stay in Mexico. You know.
I guess.
Yeah. Not as interesting of a movie, but
Cinema Sins ding here.
Yeah. Movie's fucking slow. What do you rate this movie out of 10?
What did I rate it on Letterboxd? Give me a sec.
No. Don't look at Letterboxd right now. What do you rate it out of 10?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay. Now you can check Letterboxd.
Let me see if it...
My rating's going to piss you off.
Wait, can I guess?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess you're going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Close. I think it's a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I think...
I gave it a full 10 stars on Letterboxd.
Who do you think this movie's for?
Tarantino. I mean, Tarantino said this before.
You think it's for Tarantino?
Yeah. It's for Tarantino. Tarantino has said that he makes movies for an audience, but he imagines as though the audience is just like a bunch of hymns. So it's like, that's who he makes it for. I think what's funny is that his movie... that works for him because his movies are very commercial in nature. But like other people,
He slaps his name on anything, people are gonna fucking flock to it. You know,
Yeah.
I guess you can do that and you know it shows in interviews. It shows in his personality.
What I think is interesting about this movie is that he said this before. This is like the movie you expect someone to make when they're like in their 60s or something, and he made it much sooner. And so it kind of gave him this weird kind of leverage to be like, is like, I already made my more mature movie, and now every other movie is going to be even crazier, even louder. You know, you look at, maybe with the exception of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, every other movie is so like the next movie he makes is Kill Bill. You know, so like it's wild. By the way, as an extension to my crime theory about Tarantino, I also think his career post Jackie Brown kind of confirms this in the sense that he never makes a crime movie again. What he does is he takes other genres, you know. So you get Kill Bill, that's a samurai film. You get Grindhouse, that's his Grindhouse film. Inglourious Bastards, that's his 70s World War II Men on a Mission movie. Was it Django Unchained is his spaghetti western. The Hateful Eight is murder mystery. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is kind of like instead of looking at like one movie specifically, he just looks at Hollywood altogether. And I don't know, it kind of like what I find interesting about Tarantino is that
For those of you audio listeners, I am jerking an air dick right now.
What's interesting about Tarantino is that he said he's only going to make 10 films.
Yo, this is you with Tarantino's dick right now.
He said he's only going to make 10 films. And it feels like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like the climax of his career. And you wonder, is like, where's he going to go with the next one? And do you know what the title of the next movie is called?
The film critic, or the movie critic, yeah.
The movie critic. It's like the most like, oh, there we go again.
Breaking his arm, jerking himself off.
Yeah.
That's...
But hey, I'm going to be the first one in theaters to see it, so.
My final note is the more Tarantino movies I watch, the less I like him. the less I like his style. Like I wish I just stopped at Reservoir Dogs. Like,
you wish he made one movie.
Yeah, I wish.
I mean, it's a very interesting. I mean, Reservoir Dogs is when he's the least refined in his style. You know, where he's the least like no one knows what a Tarantino movie is at that point.
Yeah.
He still slaps his name on it, like as if it's like.
I don't know. I mean, Kill Bill is slow too, but it does more to like grab your attention. You know, it like there's more diversity in the storytelling. You know.
By the way, he also hasn't seen Inglourious Bastards, so.
Okay, I guess I gotta see Inglourious Bastards.
That's like, where is it? There's two camps for like Tarantino fans. There's the people who like his crime stuff like the best, and people who like his other stuff the best. And for people who like the other stuff the best, Inglourious Bastards is usually considered the best out of those, like out of his non-crime era stuff. You know. Yeah. I'd be very interested to see what you think about that for sure.
Next week or next time we do this, we should watch. Let's watch like an old monster movie or something, because
it's gonna be in October, right?
Well, no, I mean it's September. We're probably gonna shoot another one like next week or something. So we'll have a few more in September. But okay, I guess we'll save the monster movies for October. Do like a spooky theme.
I love monster movies. I mean, how old are you talking? Because
I'm like show me like fucking Frankenstein and like, because I think I'll really have some like harsh criticisms to say. Because even though I'm critical about this movie, at the end of the day, I'm still glad I watched it. I still enjoyed it. There was a lot of...
This guy wants us to fight on camera. I don't know why.
Because it's more interesting. It's more interesting. You know how I feel about this movie? I feel like it's like a nice steak that just has like a lot of fatty bits that I want to cut around. You know? That's how I feel about this.
But also, this is perfect for the analogy. I usually eat the fatty bits.
You fucking kill. That's the perfect place to end it. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you next time for Eyes Pried Open. Goodbye.